We are going to walk through some seas today.
From sea to shining sea. I messed up on that English. What?
From sea to shining sea? And
Seashells by the seashore.
We had this really great thing called being drunk. Yeah.
How much wood
Put
could
your
a
tongue
woodchuck
in
chuck
something.
if a woodchuck could chuck
Yeah,
wood? A
well-
woodchuck chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck.
If a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Which
Yes.
went which way? I don't know which went which way because I don't know which is what which.
That was a new one for me.
Me and Amanda found the which went which way, and we added the other bit to it in a magazine.
Okay, well, chapter 14. Now that we've had a whole bunch of tongue twisters to entertain you for the first couple of minutes.
Well, first minute, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, it's not been a minute yet. Anyhow, you start.
Dear kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. We thank Thee for the safe travels we've had throughout the day, and that we have the ability to have a fire to keep us warm. We thank Thee for the ability to be together and the time that we have with each other. Please bless us all to have a good rest of our day, and that we'll be able to have safe travels wherever we need to go elsewhere. And please bless us to continue to be warm. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
And at the moment, we're kind of cooking because this thing's running easily 700 degrees right now.
That's it, it's only 100.
That's the air coming out of the top. But if we look at the sensor says 1,000. So the top of the stove is 1,000.
Nice!
And it really heats the house. But getting blown on by the fan, I think I'll turn that down a bit. Plus it'll make less noise and make it easier to be heard.
Yeah. Israel goes out of Egypt. Israel passes through the Red Sea on dry ground. The Lord overthrows the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying,
Speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-zephon. Before it shall ye encamp by the sea.
For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land. The wilderness hath shut them in. And Pharaoh will harden his heart.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hebrew, return. So that they turn and encamp, so they returned. So they went down a little bit and then they came back.
Weird.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Pharaoh will harden his heart.
For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land, the wilderness hath shut them in. You read.
I read that.
And
4.
I will harden Pharaoh's heart.
Pharaoh will harden his heart.
Yes, of course. Pharaoh hardens his own heart. God doesn't have to do it for him. And Satan has great hold on his heart, and that is why he does it.
Indeed.
That he shall follow after them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. So everybody that is...
Honored by Pharaoh?
Yeah, because Pharaoh is not honoring God right now by trying to go and get the Israelites back. So, his army, yeah. So everybody who is... Don't do that, it's catching.
I'm trying.
I would say that everyone, maybe a few of others, but everyone that has said, I don't believe that this is anything but chance and God can't surely be real...
And people who deny it, even seeing it.
They are the ones that are going to be in the middle of the Red Sea when it collapses in on them.
Whee!
Yeah, so...
The very harsh animation that they used in Prince of Egypt for that was probably very accurate.
We don't know, but there has been someone that has taken a computer model, and there is a spot on the Red Sea that has been accepted for, as far as I know, millennia as being the place of the crossing. And they have actually found sand bars that make it a lot shallower there because the wind blows through this canyon that's right there.
Didn't they also find like carts or something there as well?
Yes, and chariot wheels and other stuff. But they ran a computer model, and if it was a 60-mile-an-hour wind for something like 24 hours, it would open up a channel across the sea. The thing that they didn't do, that I haven't heard of at least, is what happens if that air turns off? How quickly does it have to turn off for the water to just go chunk?
Well, I gotta say in the movie, big owie for Pharaoh slamming
Yeah.
against a rock.
But that is an interesting question.
Yeah.
If it was a 60-mile-an-hour wind that, I mean, was blowing these people flat on their faces,
Best
running
aquarium
across.
in the world.
What?
Best aquarium in the world.
I liked how they did it in Prince of Egypt. They had a whale swim close enough to be seen. That was pretty cool. But you know, how quickly did the wind die off, and how quickly does it need to die off for the water to just go chunk or gradually seep back in, or you know, how did it actually go? Did they have the wind speed drop down enough? I mean, 60 miles an hour will blow you off your feet. So did it drop down to 40 and the wall still stayed up, or did they start to come in as they were going into the Red Sea?
That would be pretty terrifying either way.
It would be interesting to see. That is a bit of science that I'd like to see somebody.
I'm not that
Show.
good with
Well, this was a
simulations,
supercomputer running some major software. So
but that's fair.
yeah.
And that was back in the day.
I'm not sure that was very long ago. I want to say it was after 2000.
Well, they still have advanced computers a good
yeah,
bit, so...
yeah. Even now, there's more powerful computers. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled. On this one, I just have to say, where was the truth here? I hate to knock Moses, but all the way through, he was saying, we're going to go out 3 days and sacrifice. He never said, we're never going to come back. He just said, we're going to go out 3 days and sacrifice.
How much time had passed by the time they said that they had fled?
Right. It had to have been at least four days, you know, or what? Maybe they did their sacrifice and then they kept walking, and that was when they got told. I don't know. I don't care. But the question remains: when did the statement of we're going to go out and sacrifice become we're never going to come back?
I thought the Pharaoh said, "Go and leave me here and never return."
But he still had the statement of we're going to go out 3 days and sacrifice.
When did that change?
When and how did it change to we're going to keep going and never come back? I don't know. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? We don't want to have to work that hard.
You can also do 600.
And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him.
And he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains over every one of them. How did they still have horses?
Well, some of them had been kept in shelter
Fair point.
and had been taken care of by the people who feared God, and they left. So who knows? All the other chariots, yeah. But yeah, there were still enough people, and
I thought cattle was just cows and sheep, not horses.
any animal that is cared for by people can be considered cattle.
This is true.
And yeah, so he still had a lot of people, and obviously he had enough people that were willing to say, dang it, why did they leave? That he was
Well,
able
screw
to...
this, I'm going after my slaves.
Exactly. They were able to gather a pretty healthy number of people who would say, we want some slaves back. All right.
And the Lord, Pharaoh,
Pharaoh hardened his own heart.
and Pharaoh hardened his heart, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand.
Went out in defiance with all of the money and all of the goods that the Egyptians would give them, which was quite a lot. But the Egyptians pursued after them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal-zephon.
And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. And they were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord.
And they said unto Moses, and this is just so lame. Looking back on it, from our perspective, this looks like they were just going, we shouldn't have left. Now we're going to die. But looking from our perspective, it's like, dude, guys, you're about to get... Oh, they don't know that they're about to get the walk across the Red Sea and that miracle.
And neither, but in this case, it could be looked at as they're starting to doubt.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about this. They turn to Moses and say, wait a minute. We got out of Egypt with all of these miracles, and God can save us, and it'll be great. But we're about to die, aren't we?
They're coming after us anyway. Why couldn't it have been easy?
Yeah, and there's so much of this, and it's just...
It keeps happening, too.
I can't knock everybody, because it kind of is just human nature to say, oh, well, I wanted that to turn out better.
It's like I always say, when you want something complicated from God, he does something easy. When you want something easy from God, he does something complicated.
That depends, but whatever. And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? I mean,
That's
yeah.
hard.
Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt?
Dealt thus with us.
Oh, yeah.
It's a weird sentence.
Yeah, but either way, why are we out here to die out here instead of just living our lives out as slaves in Egypt?
Quote from the VeggieTales, what's his name?
Joshua?
Joshua and the Great Wall of Jericho. One of the guys who's like, this isn't easy at all. You know what? Let's just throw in the towel and head back to Egypt. I'm organizing a tour.
Hang on. Okay. And when... Okay, they dealt with us bringing forth out of Egypt.
They started doubting. Verse 12. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians, for it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
Is this not the thing that we told you? Didn't we tell you about this? We're going to die somewhere anyhow, so why not just die as a slave? And it's like, guys,
At least
die free men. At least you're not...
for them, they knew and were raised in slavery, so it was something they understood
True.
and they were familiar with.
Right.
Going out into the wilderness is something new and scary, and they would rather die in a familiar situation rather than something new.
Yeah. And what is familiar, you find.
Yep.
So, yeah, they are out of their element in so many ways. They have their previous masters coming to enslave them again and probably just kill them. We don't know how long they've been away, but, you know, they are supposed to have unleavened bread for a week, so who's to say that they weren't out for a week when this happened? You know, there are so many things to this that are like, oh, this is not good. And the Israelites are going, we just want this to be over with. Can't we just not have this problem anymore? So we get to verse 13, and Moses said unto the people, and I have this highlighted, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. And how many of them went, do we have to do this again?
You know, that is a good question. A good bit probably did.
Because they were, yeah.
Tired.
They were so sick and tired of having to deal with another miracle,
Which?
Cleaning up mess.
something like that, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever.
The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall have hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward.
Wait, what?
That doesn't make much sense.
No. This is jumbled time frame. So maybe Moses was saying a prayer when he realized that there was a cloud of people heading their way. Either way, so he goes down and says, see the salvation of the Lord, but lift up thy rod and stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians. Rather, they will harden their hearts. Hard-heartedness.
Yeah.
And they shall follow them, and I will give me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his host and upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. I will be honored by Pharaoh and all his army, etc.
Yeah, I'm looking at footnotes here. This is interesting.
Very confusing.
It's a bit of a jumbled...
Confusingly worded, I should say.
Yeah, jumbled history. Everything is... Well, we had this happen, and while that was happening, this happened, and this happened because that happened, and so it all did... Yeah, it's just mixed up.
Yeah.
But I will be honored by Pharaoh. Yeah. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen.
And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed that went behind them, and the pillar of cloud went from before their face and stood behind them.
So, if...
Prince of Egypt showed it as a fire tornado, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So did the other movie of Moses with little fire.
That's true. The Ten Commandments showed it that way. But if we look at the place where this has been agreed upon to have happened, there is actually a canyon going through a bluff that they would have walked down through and then spread out on the beach there in front of this cliff, bluff, whatever. And so this cloud, it could have been fire, it could have been cloud, we don't know, and it doesn't matter. All it had to do was block the entrance to that canyon there. And,
They couldn't find it.
no, they could have been standing there and they tried to enter, but it was either a fire or something else, and it was literally holding them back so that the Egyptians could not get to them that night. And if it was an actual fire, it could have been generating the wind that was needed. So we don't know, but it's a really, really neat thing to say that might have been how it went. So
And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near to the other all the night.
so it blinded the Egyptians, but it kept the Israelites lit up so that they could prepare for crossing. And again, they have their loins girded so that they can run and all that. And I'm sure that the women and men were both doing it. Did they show that in the... I'll have to look at the Prince of Egypt now to show if they had their loins girded.
A few of them did pick up their skirts, but I didn't see any that were specifically tying it upward, right?
Oh well. They missed out on the historical context there. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided.
And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And
That would
eventually,
be so amazing. But also, like I said, the wind had to have been decreasing because by the time they got to the end, the Egyptians were starting to,
pursue.
well, keep reading. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen.
And it came to pass that in the morning watch the Lord looked out unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians.
And this is the important thing here. And they took off, or they bound their wheels, that they drave them heavily, because they were starting to get mud again. So the water was starting to come in as they were going in after. So the wind has to have reduced some to allow the water to come in and start making the ground mud. So that the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians."
Wait, what?
They took off the chariot wheels that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said.
My bad.
26.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen.
That would suck. I
What?
mean, fairly quick and simple if it's several 1,000 tons of pressure, but still, that would suck.
Again, the Prince of Egypt did a very good representation of that. It looked painful.
Yeah, it really did. But again, like I said, maybe the wind died gradually, and it was... it's still a couple miles across, but if you've never really learned to swim, or now they have the Nile and they swim a lot. So, but still, how many people made it back to shore?
And how many people swam in the ocean, which is a totally different thing from swimming in a calm
This is true.
river.
They had waves, bigger waves possibly. Who knows? And the sea would have been pretty turbulent after coming back together from a 60-mile-an-hour wind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that if it wasn't quick, it was miserable. It was a horribly miserable death.
No kidding.
Just like fire.
27 for you.
Worse than fire, because drowning sucks. Fire hurts for the first couple of minutes, depending on how hot it is, and then it just stops hurting because you're dead. Drowning, it drags you down slowly, and yeah. Mm-hmm. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned with his strength, or its normal condition, when the morning appeared. And the Egyptians fled against it, because they saw it coming, meeting it.
As you were saying.
Hebrew. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. The Egyptians fled, meeting it. Oh, it was coming up to them, and they were like, oops! Turn around and run away because...
I'll flap!
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense to think of it that way. It was meeting them as it came together.
And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. So did Pharaoh die in that?
We don't know. It's never said. I like in the Ten Commandments and the Prince of Egypt that it shows that Pharaoh didn't die.
But he's the only one.
But like I said, if they had some that were able to surf the wave in, I mean, that's one heck of a wave. But those that were able to swim.
You realize what you make my brain say whenever you said surf the wave.
Yeah. Body surf the wave coming in to the shore.
Yeah.
Sure, but my brain says they take a piece of the chariot and go, Cowabunga!
It's not impossible, but
Highly unlikely.
how many were able to swim back? How many actually were completely overwhelmed? But, I personally think I like how they did in the Prince of Egypt, that some got blown out by the speed and the overall wind force.
Yeah, and Moses had to run with a child, so they
Who
had
knows?
one too.
Who knows? I'm not going to say that happened,
I know.
but the reality is, enough people have to have lived for it to have been a dreadfully solid witness, so that when they returned with all of their horses, well,
Most of their horses and chariots.
probably most of the chariots,
Some of the
many of their horses, and
Many of the people.
however many didn't enter because they weren't on chariots and weren't running fast enough. Who knows? But all of these people either experienced or witnessed this happen, and they went back to Egypt and said, yeah, they're not coming back. Why? Well, there's this little thing called water.
Tidal waves, death, drowning,
Yeah.
being smacked.
So yeah, just think of the witness of, he had 200 of his prime chariots and every other chariot that he could muster,
You kind of lost me a moment there.
plus all of the walking army that would have been with them, and they all saw this. However many were killed, it doesn't matter. They could have all run away from their chariots, and some of the horses survived. And who cares how many people survived?
The more witnesses, the more real it becomes.
They all go back to Egypt, and to a ruined Egypt that has no money. Well,
Relative.
the majority of the wealth, the majority of the people are dead. The majority of the animals are dead. And they go, yeah, there was a wall of water. And people go, are you kidding me? He saw it too. Those other 100 over there saw it too. Those other 1,000 over there saw it too. You know, you can't get away from the witness of
The truth.
this many people seeing it. It's not a lie. It cannot be denied.
Not easily, anyway. If you
Yeah.
are, you're kind of condemning yourself because
Oh, that
Barely
too.
anyone left.
Yeah, really.
If you think about it, it's sort of like, I guess, in courtrooms, if you,
Yeah, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses.
yeah,
And in this case, they easily had hundreds.
and if you
Or
deny
thousands.
if you deny the truth, you're condemning yourself in court and can potentially be put in jail.
Yeah. What's that? There's a word for that. I don't remember right off. It's a special word. Lying on
Contempt
lying
in
on
court?
No,
It's not contempt.
lying on the stand has a specific name, and I don't remember the name of it right off. I don't remember the word right off.
But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left.
Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore.
Ew.
Well, that reminds me something from the movie. Look at your people, Moses. They are free.
Yeah.
And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses.
Wait a minute.
So they're only now feeling it?
No. Well, this was the final miracle. This was the 13th miracle.
Eric.
Baker's dozen. Some of the Egyptians had to have been washed forward as well, because the water came in the middle.
Oh yeah, and it said dead upon the
Right.
seashore.
Right. There would have.
Ew.
Well, I mean, they were freshly
Bodies
dead, so it
washing
wouldn't
up on the
have been
shore.
rotting for a couple days. But
Yeah, true.
they had a few of them get washed forward because they were more than halfway through, or however it worked. And then the remainder that were able to run backward or get washed backward, however many made it back.
Well,
But
sharks will
some
go
of them,
buffet today.
that's true. There would have been a lot of flesh-eating fish that would have been very happy. But some of them did wash up to where the Israelites were. So
Ew.
this is a very interesting thing to think about in a grander scale than, ooh, water, divide. There's a lot of layers to this, and it's a symbolism too. The Egyptians were baptized and cleansed because they went under the water to get to the other side. I mean,
Bit of a morbid way to be baptized, but
no. Well, the Israelites were freed by going under the main level of the water and walking across. They weren't baptized in a literal sense, but they were taken through the water and made free on the other side. So it was a baptism of sorts.
okay, so I thought you were talking about the Egyptians.
No, I'm sorry.
You said the Egyptians,
Oh,
so-
crud! I'm sorry. I got that about the time I started saying the Israelites again. But yeah, the Egyptians were destroyed.
Yeah.
But the
They were
Israelites,
baptized with death.
yeah,
Bodies washing up on the shore. Ew.
not ooh for the first 2 days.
Yeah.
After 2 days, yeah, you don't want to be within a half mile. But they were baptized out into, and then they get to go to the
Promised land.
No, they go to Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
Where is it that they go to next? They sing the songs. Anyhow, they go to the mountain and they are given a baptism of fire by the Spirit, but then of course they turn away from it and they get the law of Moses. But either way, this is a really, really interesting thing to look at for the symbolism and the end result, as well as what was the real end result. How many of the Egyptians did just get wiped out? How many of them swam back and were like, I almost drowned, and yeah, this was not something that I made up. And how
I want to
many
go home and just sleep.
how many ways
Well,
through all 13 of these miracles did Egypt get the chance to say the Lord is God, and the gods of the that we worship, the gods of Pharaoh,
Are false.
are worthless because they didn't protect us?
What's
Because
the word,
they can't.
What's the word for the fear of water that they probably got afterwards? What's that word?
Hydrophobia.
Yeah, that's probably what lots of them got. If they
You know, that's
whoever
actually a good
survived.
point. A few of them probably did. I mean,
That makes sense. Some, who knows? But
Yeah, I never want to go in water again because I almost died in it.
well, it has to be dividing in front of them for them to feel that way.
True.
Maybe. Who knows? Who cares? It's just a neat. So many layers of things to be interested in and think about for how this all went, and yeah, it's a neat story.
I can only imagine how intense it would be to actually witness all this in person.
Dude, to go through all 12 plagues and then watch the sea get divided, that's something I'm gonna say, can we go and watch this?
Time travel!
No, just the heavenly server room of movies, you know?
Today's showing! Grab the popcorn, they're doing Exodus!
I got the jumbo so we can
Hey.
share.
Oh, it was Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner and, oh, crud, who played Moses? Now I forget his name. Anyhow.
Which movie?
The Ten Commandments.
Okay.
In the Ten Commandments, you had Yul Brynner. He was the bald guy that I was trying to remember the name of. And
Ramesses?
yeah, and then you had the guy that played the Ten Commandment, the Moses, and now I can't remember his name. Anyhow, hey, you two, you want to come over and watch it in real time?
This guy
Anyhow.
got chosen, Seth, and I wonder what his screen in heaven will look like because he knows how to make a good
Hey.
show.
It'll be interesting to see.
Put on the 3D glasses.
We don't need 3D glasses. We get it in a amphitheater. Anyhow, yeah.
Whose down deeds are great theater. Brain
It
in
will
weird
be-
areas.
It will be neat in the end to see all of the different times
Except for the souls that did
When
die in that
God-
moment.
brought a prophet into being and led people wherever they may have been in the world to his church, and how that went for good or bad. It will be neat to see and understand all that. So
Yeah, we need to see it, but what about the souls that died that day when we come to heaven?
We don't
I bet
know.
they don't want to see it at all because that's how they
anyhow,
died.
somebody's arriving, so we need to go. Have an awesome one. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye.